This is Raythe from Raythe Reign. I'm an author of serialized gay romance fiction. Every week on this podcast, I'll be reading a chapter from one of my gay fantasy shifter serials called Dragon's Reign. I'll explain at the break how you can find out more about this story and others I write. So let's get to it. Chapter 123, The Mirror. The SUV seemed to gallop up the winding road to Highreach. Valerius could see snippets of buildings and the sky through the window as the car bounced on the asphalt that wasn't so smooth at these speeds. "So, what's the plan? What's the damn plan?" Ilarion demanded. He was in the back seat with Ilarion, Cadme, and Esme. Ironically, Ilarion was stuffed in the middle. "The mirror," May said from the front passenger seat. Jahara was driving, like a madwoman no less. The other dragon shifters and Claw were following in SUVs behind them. They were driving up the winding roads to Highreach. "The mirror," Ilarion's forehead puckered in confusion. "When we were all in the throne room," Esme answered, adjusting her dress that was bunched up against the door and window. "Don't you remember how all our dragon spirits were together in the same lair when we looked into the mirror?" Oh, Ilarion said, his forehead smoothing out as understanding filled him. "Clearly, the mirror transports our spirits from their lairs to Raziel's," Jahara filled in. "And if we go to the mirror again, that means our spirits will be as close as possible to the crater, thus giving them the chance to destroy the Behemoth and save Raziel, Iolair, and Caden," May finished. "So, we're going to be like him." Ilarion tilted his head towards Valerius. Valerius would have made a smart remark in response that not even on Ilarion's best day could he be like Valerius. But he was too weak to even form the words. He grimaced and tightened his hold on Caden's body. There was no response from his beloved. Despair nibbled at him. "No, we're almost to the mirror. We're getting help to you, my love. Just hold on a little longer, Caden." "We will be mortal and human again, for a time." May tugged at her collar, belying the calmness of her voice and words. "Our spirits will make quick work of the Behemoth. In the spirit realm, they don't need to worry about any explosions the destruction of that beast may cause." "True, that does fix that problem," Esme said with a nod. "We'll be mortal. We can be hurt. We could die. Valerius has been like a doll, losing his sand, ever since Raziel left him," Ilarion reminded them. He looked over at Valerius's faintly scowling face. "No offense, but you have been a maiden in my arms twice tonight." "Are you afraid of being human and mortal again, Ilarion? It might be good for you, to remind you that you're not so all that," Esme joked. "You are an old woman. You could have a heart attack the moment that Scylla leaves you," Ilarion growled. Valerius actually let out a soft laugh and managed to whisper, "Esme will outlive us all, Ilarion." "Oh, you're not dead. What a relief." Ilarion rolled his eyes. "Not yet. Not ever. It's a good plan, May," Valerius said, making his voice stronger. She gave him a brief smile and nod. "Where the hell did that mirror come from? Why can it do this?" Ilarion asked. "You've always been so cagey about it. I think now is a good time to tell us, since we're trusting it with our lives." There was silence. It was something he had never explained to them, something he had kept secret, though he did not fully understand it himself. Would he tell them now? Would he keep a secret? Or would he reveal to them all he did know and open his life a little? "Raziel led me to it the first year we were one," Valerius answered, his gaze going distant as he remembered. "It came from a strange sand that was not created near the water, but at the top of a mountain that I've never seen since." The silence was different now. Admitting this to them, bringing them into the secret felt right. They felt closer. Ilarion patted his arm. "Maybe from the spirit realm," Jahara murmured. "Perhaps that's where the mountain is, and the sand came from there." "Mountains do not disappear unless you are far older than you are letting on," Ilarion pointed out. "So the spirit realm sounds possible." "Yes, perhaps that is so," Valerius agreed. "And you had the mirror made from it?" Esme asked. Valerius nodded. "Only hellfire melted it, and when it cooled, the mirror was created. not like any other mirror in existence, and I've taken it with me everywhere. Another silence fell as they wondered at this. It's like the walls that the Behemoth uses, Jahara said quietly. The mirror, it lets us see into the spirit realm. While the walls let things pass between? Esme asked. I think the mirror can too, Valeria said. I believe the spirits of the people the Behemoth displaced will be able to return to their bodies, including... Valerius cradled Caden close. Including Caden. Better not let anything happen to that bloody mirror, then, Ilarion growled. Valerius kissed Caden's cool, unresponsive forehead. Caden, we're coming. Hold on. But Ilarion is not completely wrong to be nervous. The Horde is after us, May said. High Reach is the safest place, Jahara said, but the throne room is the least protected part of it. We just have to hold out for a little while. Once the Behemoth is taken care of, the Horde won't be a problem, May said. You act as if taking care of the Behemoth will be some kind of side adventure and not the main event, Ilarion grunted. But Raziel has not returned after challenging it. Valerius felt the weight of every one of those words. Raziel has not returned. Not returned. Would Raziel return? Was Raziel right? Could spirits be destroyed forever? Wasn't that what they were trying to do to the Behemoth? We need to get to High Reach first before our dragon spirits can leave us, Jahara pointed out. First things first. Jahara wrenched the wheel to the right as they took a hairpin curve. Valerius slid the few inches there were between his bare shoulder and the door. We just need to survive your driving, Jahara. What else could happen? Ilarion muttered. Valerius glanced outside to see how far they were from High Reach. He saw the final turn up ahead before the bridge. There was a stone wall on their right, except for a metal door that interrupted the white stone. Even before Valerius saw it suddenly bulge out as if a great hammer had struck it. Horde! Valerius shouted. And then the door flew outwards across their path. There was a squeal of tires as Jahara tried to steer around the metal door that looked like the ripped-off lid of a container. She had to slow down, and that was when the Horde poured out of the doorway, like water streaming out of a fire hose at full speed. Watch out! Esme cried. Jahara slammed on the brakes, even as the Horde slammed into them. Don't stop, Ilarion screamed. Run them over! I'll kill them if I don't stop, Jahara cried. Those are people. Who cares? They made their damn choices, Ilarion snarled. If they slow us down too much, everything is lost. We have to think of all the innocent people who will die if we don't kill them. Valeria saw Landry, her brothers, and Jasper Hawes staring out at those faces pressed all around the SUV. They were snarling. Their expressions were hardly human. One of those faces, though, was Landry's. She gasped and covered her mouth as she saw herself. Oh, my God, Landry cried. Oh, my God. What have I done? The SUV was barely crawling forward. It was covered with the Horde. It was rocking back and forth, in danger of being overturned like a turtle on its back. Countless hands slammed against the windows, but it was made of bulletproof glass, so it held. But for how long? That's Jasper. One of Landry's brothers pointed to the squirming figure on top of the hood. No, that's my body, Jasper frothed. I was betrayed. Jasper's body slammed his forehead against the windscreen. Blood spurted over his forehead. He slammed it again and again. Starbursts cracked along the glass. This was your fault. Landry hit Jasper's arm hard. You spoke poison. I listened. I was jealous and I listened. More fool me, but don't pretend you're a victim here. It's destroying my body. It's destroying me, Jasper wailed. The SUV was truly rocking now. Valerius, what do we do? Jahara asked. He felt like he was looking directly into Landry's eyes then. Tears were streaming down her face, but it was as if she saw him. Do it, Landry said. Drive. What? No! That could kill us! Jasper screamed. He grabbed hold of Landry by the shoulders and tried to shake her. Ilarion's right. We made our choice, Jasper. We aren't innocent. We have to pay for what we've done. I don't want to die! Jasper cried. Landry's brothers looked crestfallen, but unsurprised as they too nodded. Do it, one said. You gotta do it or everybody's gonna die, the other said. No, 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 Jasper screamed. He shoved Landry backwards. Her brothers, though, caught her as she fell. But even before she was fully upright, she cried, Drive, King Valerius, now! Valerius closed his eyes, but he kept seeing Landry, her brothers, and Jasper. He wondered if their bodies died here, if they would always be in the lair, or would they pass on to somewhere else. If they stayed or went, he would still be haunted forever. Valerius? Jahara asked. He opened his eyes. He could not see anything but seemingly demonic faces at the windows. We need to get through, Valerius said finally. Do whatever you have to. Let me try something. I saw it in a movie once, Esme said. We don't need you trying things, Ilarion began. Esme, though, moved her hands in a circle, and suddenly there were shocked cries from the Horde. They stopped banging. In fact, they stopped moving altogether. And then water started streaming from their eyes, ears, noses. The very water that made them up was leaving their bodies. That's when the screaming began, and the flailing. They backed away from the car, trying to reach for the water that was streaming from them. Holy hell! Ilarion laughed and pounded the back of the seat. Keep watching those movies, Esme. You can control the water in people. Apparently so, Esme chuckled, appearing pleased. The road ahead of them was clear. Jahara hit the gas and they jolted forward. They practically rocketed over the bridge to High Reach. The other SUVs were in hot pursuit. The Horde could not be seen. But Valerius knew that they would be following in due time. Esme's water trick had not killed them. The SUVs roared into the main courtyard. Valerius opened the door, but he couldn't lift Caden up and carry him out. Helplessness smashed into him again. Hold on, I'll be right there, Ilarion said, but not unkindly. In fact, there was worry etched into the Green Dragon King's face. I must look bad for you to be fussing, Valerius muttered as Ilarion made his way around the car. No, I just want to make sure you owe me more, and carrying you like a bride again in front of everyone is my pleasure, Ilarion chuckled. Did you know that you can get some of my gay romance books for free? Every month, I have at least one book free to download, right from Amazon, so you can easily read it on any device. But these books can only be free for 5 days at a time. If you don't want to miss out, just sign up for my mailing list, and I'll send you an email whenever there's a free book available. The link to the sign-up form is in the description down below. Valerius could only manage a faint smile. Ilarion gently lifted Caden's still body from Valerius's arms and handed him tenderly to Jahara again, who hurried towards the entrance to High Reach. Even though Caden had been a dead weight in his arms, not having his body to cradle felt wrong. He bit back the cry for the young man that wanted to escape his mouth. They needed to get inside. Ilarion leaned in once more and lifted Valerius into his arms. Treasure this moment, Valerius, Ilarion said, for it will be the last time I have to do it. Valerius just closed his eyes for a second. He couldn't feel Raziel or Caden. He felt empty, like a hollow vessel, fragile and about to break. The other SUVs screeched to a halt behind them, in addition to the other dragon shifters who clumped around Ilarion and Valerius with wide eyes and drawn faces. His two favorite claw captains, Simi and Nagoye, were there. Close the gate, Valerius muttered. Already done, Simi said. We have Claw already lining the walls to face any that come, Nagoye said. What sort of force are we to use? Simi asked. Valerius grimaced. Landry was weeping. Her brothers were holding and comforting her. Jasper was seated on a rock, white-faced and staggered. High Reach is strong. Try to use non-lethal methods for as long as you can, but you are cleared to kill, Valerius said. Simi and Nagoye crossed their arms over their chests and hurried away to command the Claw. Is there any way for the Horde to get in from below, or is the bridge the only way across? May asked. The bridge is it, Valerius said. Thank the gods, your whole city is like Swiss cheese. You need to rethink things, Valerius, Ilarion said with a shake of his head. Let's get him inside, Kayla urged. He truly does not look well, Tez said, looking none too well himself. At that moment, the doors to High Reach burst open, and Tilly burst out of them, running full speed for Valerius. Behind her were Marban, Shione, Wally, and Rose. All three of them looked shocked to their cores at his appearance. Tilly immediately ran up to him. Valerius, what's happened? Are you okay? Tilly asked.
Doesn't she look beautiful in my arms, little girl?
Valerian drawled. She ignored him. Where's Caden? Why isn't he holding you if you're hurt? She must not have realized that Caden had been brought into the throne room already. Valerius swallowed. He couldn't speak the words to her that her brother's soul was dislodged from his body, that he was captive in the spirit realm, that he was facing the Behemoth with just Raziel. Anwar stepped in. He sank down on his haunches so that he and Tilly were about eye to eye.
Tilly, you are a brave spirit. I knew it from the first moment we met. So I know that you will understand what I tell you and still have hope.
Anwar said,
Caden is a captive of the Behemoth. We are going to save him and everyone else.
She gasped, and her eyes went huge, but she swallowed whatever cry wanted to escape her lips. Esme put her hands on Tilly's slender shoulders.
Caden needs you to be strong, Tilly. You need to tell your parents and manage them, Esme told her.
Tilly's lower lip trembled, but she straightened. With a jerky nod, she acknowledged what they all had said. Showing she was Caden's sister, she asked, Can I do anything else?
No, we just need you to keep your parents calm and safely out of the fray, Anwar told her.
Another nod. She wiped tears from her eyes and turned to go back into the castle. Valerius called to her softly.
Tilly.
She turned and he said,
We will get Caden back. I promise.
I know. You'll save us all, King Valerius, she said, and ran out of sight. Valerius felt a well of despair open up inside of him. Thankfully, she hadn't waited to hear a response. What can we do? There must be something we can do, Rose cried as she came clattering down the steps. Shioni came to him too. Her hands went all over him. Her eyes widened.
Raziel,
she stopped.
Isn't with me, fighting the Behemoth with Caden. The other dragon spirits, they need to do the same, though through the mirror.
Valerius got out. We need to be protected until the Behemoth is defeated, May said. Then hopefully we'll be all right again. Can Sphinxes fight? Kayla asked. She had been facing towards the gate that led out onto the bridge. She pointed. The Horde is here. The people moved as a single unit. They filled the bridge from railing to railing and were coming en masse like a locomotive that would not be stopped. Claws shifted at the gate, becoming lions, tigers, werewolves, and other big animals. Only Simi kept his human form as he barked orders. Sphinxes can fight, Shioni nodded, passing her hand over Valerius's forehead. We fight for our king.
Shioni,
Valerius breathed. That she would fight for him as she had for the god kings of old, when she knew all his foibles and how unworthy he was of his current position, touched him deeply. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. I will keep you safe. Few had seen a sphinx shifter in human form, let alone in spirit one. Shioni stepped back away from them so that she was in the center of the courtyard. She passed a hand in front of her face, and for a moment Valerius could smell the desert. His heart lifted.
Desert flower, desert queen, Anwar murmured.
Then, with a small smile, Shioni shifted. There was the dazzling gold of the sun and the sand, and before them, about half the size of a titanic dragon, stood a sphinx. The head remained human, though immeasurably larger and styled like that of the pharaohs of old. The body was that of a lioness, massive and powerful, her tail swished around her. She lifted her falcon's wings and flapped them. She rose up above them and looked down at them with golden eyes. Now that is beautiful, Ollie breathed. It was. Valerius couldn't help but smile at her beauty and strength. She was truly otherworldly. Hiding her light in a barrel, Tez murmured. She is golden, just like Eldaron. Gold is the color of the gods. No one disagreed with him. She flew towards the bridge and the Horde. Marban then stepped forward with Wally and Rose. I've already sent word to my people, Valerius, Marban said. While this group faces the Horde from this direction, we will come up the back. I bet the Horde doesn't like being stung, Rose murmured. Rats are no fun either. Wally slammed one hand into his palm. Will wasps be joining us? Oh, I think so, Marban smiled. It was not a nice smile.
Don't kill them if you can.
The souls of the people are still around, Valerius told them. We'll do our best, but sacrifices will have to be made, and it shall not be on our side, Marban told him.
I understand. Use your judgment, Marban,
Valerius said. The wily swarm shifter stilled for a moment. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but instead just nodded. The three of them shifted. The horde of wasps and bees soared over the wall in a wall of darkness, while hundreds of rats filtered through the gate.
Come on, let's get inside and get this over with before the Behemoth figures out what we're up to and shifts here.
Caden and Raziel must be distracting it, making it unable to come here and shift, May agreed.
I ripped Voss's head off, Ilarion repeated happily. Mephis and I can take on all comers. Except we need to have Mephis in the spirit realm,
Valerius reminded him. Ilarion grimaced. Let's hurry, May said. The distraction might not last for long. Ilarion carried Valerius in with the other dragon shifters in tow. They ran to the throne room. Jahara's wise women were stationed at all the doorways.
What are all these old little ladies doing here? Ilarion snorted. Will they coup our enemies to death?
The nearest little old lady flipped a switch on what appeared to be a rifle. There was a whine, and the barrel of the rifle turned purple. If by coup you mean several spinal cords, then yes, King Ilarion, that is exactly what we will do, she said with a toothy smile. Ilarion lifted an eyebrow.
I stand corrected. Honored to have you at our backs.
Good boy. She patted his elbow.
Valerius chuckled. You're learning, Ilarion.
Ilarion looked unrepentant as he said,
Of course, Jahara would have warriors who look like sweet grandmotherly types and children.
Yes, unfortunately, she has learned to be prepared, Valerius murmured. Ilarion carried him past the wise women into the throne room. Valerius's head turned towards the mirror the moment Ilarion brought him inside. Jahara was already speaking to Zephyra. The medium-sized dragon was nodding its understanding of what they were to do. Caden's form was lying on a sofa that had been brought in. Ilarion took Valerius right to him. He cradled Caden's head on his lap, leaning down and kissing the cool flesh. Caden was not in this body. He prayed for it to survive until Caden was returned. Then he looked up in the mirror, but Raziel and Iolaire were not there. Valerius swallowed. The other dragon shifters filtered into the room. One by one, their dragons appeared in the mirror in Raziel and Iolaire's lair. There was Scylla, Eldaron, Zippel, Lana, Zephyra, Evren, and finally Mephis. Landry and her brothers were backed into a corner, eyes wide with fear. Jasper, white-faced and gasping, was being stared at like a cat would eye a mouse by Mephis. He curled an arm around his head, trying to hide. They've all agreed to do as we've asked, King Valerius, Jahara said formally, turning back to him and Caden. He looked at the humans and dragon spirits, trying to put all of his gratefulness and strength he had into that gaze.
Thank you, all of you.
We rise or fall together, Jahara said with a smile and a bow. King Valerius, you bring us to battle once more, and we hear your call.
We will prevail, Anwar said.
I wish we could be in on this fight, Kayla frowned. Tez put an arm around her. There's going to be quite a bit of excitement already without us getting more involved. We shall await your return, Esme said to the dragons. Eagerly, I think. We will return to you, Zephyra assured them. Ilarion grimaced and sat down by Valerius.
I better get comfortable before I too become a doll without sand.
One by one, the dragon spirits exited the lair. Valerius watched as their human counterpart gasped, groaned, and clutched their chests. Tez staggered and went to his knees. Kayla caught him and held him close. Esme leaned against the mirror and breathed deeply. She looked frail suddenly, her shoulders curling inward. Anwar grimaced and clutched the front of his shirt. He was shaking. Jahara sank to her knees, but in prayer, not weakness. She closed her eyes and rocked. May held her head and paced. Valerius looked over at Ilarion. The green dragon king stared straight ahead. His jaw was working, clenching and unclenching. He slowly turned towards Valerius.
Everything I said about you, I take it back. This is worse than you made it out to be, Ilarion said. I need Mephis.
Valerius reached over and squeezed his shoulder.
Mephis will return to you. All the dragons will return.
I hope you're enjoying Dragon's Reign so far. Dragon's Reign is free for you to enjoy, but not free for us to make. There is a whole team working with me for audio editing, artwork, graphic design, and custom music. Most YouTube channels and podcasts have sponsors and take ads, but because of the kind of content we make, we can't run ads or get sponsors. Instead, we have other ways you can support me and the team behind this gay romance audiobook. One easy way is to buy or borrow my books from Amazon. They are all gay romance set in alternative worlds with vampires or shifters and other magical beings. You may not know that even if you borrow books with your Kindle Unlimited subscription at Amazon, they are free for you, but they still earn us money. The books are published under the name Ex Aratare, which actually means Raythe in Romanian. And if you love audiobooks, you can get professionally narrated versions of every one of my books on audible.com. The link to my author page is in the description below, as well as to the first book of the series I think you'll really like. Thank you so much for your support. People like you enable me and the team to keep writing these stories of gay romance, magic, monsters, and true love, and producing this very fun podcast for everyone. Thank you.